The Philippines remains one of the most disaster-prone countries in the world, yet many communities are still caught unprepared when calamities strike. According to Oxfam Pilipinas, the country's disaster system has long been reactive, with most efforts focused on response after the damage is done. But the new Republic Act 12287, or the Declaration of Imminent Disaster Act, aims to change that by allowing the government to act before a disaster happens. It enables the early release of funds for preemptive evacuation, food and cash assistance, and other safety measures once experts warn of imminent danger. This approach, known as Anticipatory Action, uses forecasts and data to trigger early response. Oxfam urges full enforcement of the new law, emphasizing that preparedness must become a habit. And to talk more about this matter, we are joined by Niña Espinola-Abogado, Anticipatory Action Lead of Oxfam Pilipinas. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Matters.
Good morning, Gretchen. Thank you for having us.
Okay, as we've been talking about it, you've been with Oxfam since 2013, since Typhoon Haiyan or Yolanda in Filipino speak, and comparing our disaster response readiness back in 2013 up to now in 2025, how much have we improved, and where do we rank in the scale of readiness? What's our grade?
Well, syempre, the entire, since then up to now, it's the same set of disaster risk management approach, no? Kasi the entire system is set up to respond when a disaster strikes. So even the local government, that's they're mandated by RA 10121, which is the Disaster Risk Management Act. So the government is guided by the law to respond when a disaster strikes. But now, because of climate change, several typhoons are becoming more severe. There are many more cases of floods, landslide, or other hazard. We have to change our approach. And since 2019, when Oxfam was actually supporting a lot of communities to change the practice of acting before a disaster strikes, not after when the damage is done, that little by little and slowly change mindset and practice. And with the new law, that's a game changer. That will change how the entire government and communities would have to prepare before a disaster strikes.
I asked this question because I hosted an event lately where ASEAN countries would come to the Philippines to actually learn from us, no? Kung paano tayo nagre-respond sa disaster. Dahil nga number 1 tayo sa World Risk Index.
Yes.
Kumbaga parang sanay na tayo ngayon. And we do see it on the ground na may preemptive evacuation na nangyayari. So we're not that bad. Am I correct? But what are the challenges that you're seeing here in terms of I guess you mentioned the whole system being set up as reactive?
Well, not really. That's true for one. Many, not only ASEAN countries but other countries, are actually learning from Philippines how do we manage different types of disaster. Particularly because given the high exposure and vulnerability of Philippines, we're situated in the typhoon belt in the Pacific. We are on the Pacific Ring of Fire. So ang dami nating disaster, from bagyo to earthquake to volcanic eruption.
Sa experience na lang, no?
But we are constantly learning how we address them. And policies is one way to ensure that we have the funds to support disaster preparedness, but at the same time response. But we also need to build more capacities. Kasi yan yung medyo kulang talaga, uneven yung capacity of communities to prepare. And because our system is set up to respond, to react after a disaster strikes, we need to change that system. We need to change our culture of preparedness and ensure preparedness becomes a habit, rather than a reaction when, a disaster already happens.
And speaking of capacities, where are we lacking?
Well, as we have seen in most local governments, capacity is very uneven. No? Some LGUs who are more willing to learn how to prepare ahead, like they use forecast information. For example, in the communities that we support, they used forecast information to trigger their action before a disaster strikes. No? But if you don't have access to capacity building, if you don't know how to use your resources, so a local government have 5% of their ERA to be used for disaster risk management fund. Of that 5%, 30 of that is quick response fund, 70% is preparedness. But because the limitation of the law now is actually the local government cannot use that in advance, no, to trigger their action.
So, kala ko 70% preparedness.
Preparedness, but because the law is linked to use when a state of calamity has been declared. So even if that is set up, no, 70% is set up, they're actually afraid, no, to be flagged by COA kasi sabi that's linked to a state of calamity. But now, with the new law, with RA 12287, that would change how they use the funds. They can.
Yun siguro yung dahilan. Kaya nagtataka ako, kahit hindi pa sobrang lakas ng bagyo sa isang syudad, nagdideklara na sila ng state of calamity.
Because
kasi kailangan daw nila ayusin yung flood drainage system nila and etc. That's one of the major reasons.
That's one of the major reasons of how they can use it. They still first need to declare a state of calamity before they do their response. But now with the new law, no, that would be a game changer.
Now, how does this change things?
It would allow them, one, it changed our system from being reactive to proactive, meaning we can set measures, we can prepare ahead hazard strikes sa community, and at the same time, particularly local government, they can tap now the 70%, use it for preparedness activity or activate anticipatory action measure. For example, apart from preemptive evacuation, they can already distribute goods or preposition, distribute cash, so people would evacuate safely. They can, buy essential during evacuation, such as food, medicine, water. We have seen in the past when you give people these types of assistance, they fortify, they strengthen their shelter. 35% of them use the fund.
Masira.
Yeah, so for houses,
mo na.
yes, for houses that can withstand a strong typhoon, they repair their houses so that they can stay safely. For others, they evacuate on a safe evacuation center or location. Others harvest crops early so hindi masayang talaga pag na bagyo lang o nabaha. Or for fishing communities, they keep their fishing boats. So imagine when you activate or practice these measures, it will not only reduce economic losses, but it will save lives. Kasi then people are, in their safe zones, they have foods, until they wait until a typhoon or a flood, subside. So it changes your preparedness habit, and the local government would be then more focused of ensuring all of its, citizens would be safe and can recover faster. Because
we're talking, of course, of the new Republic Act 12287 or the Declaration of Imminent Disaster Act. Does this get from the same pool of funds though? Nabanggit niyo yung ERA na 5%. Doon pa rin ba siya kukuha o may additional funding ito?
So currently, right now, Oxfam is also a part of the technical working group supporting to draft the IRR of the law. So when the financing component was looked at, yes, that would still be part of their local disaster risk management fund, yung 70%. At least for the local government.
Mas maaga lang siya matitrigger.
Yes. Maaga matitrigger at pwede nilang gamitin ahead. Kasi dati nga hindi natatakot sila because of being flagged by COA. And at the national level, so they would be able to use, their program funds to ensure that anticipatory action measures can be used, to prepare agencies, ahead of a disaster. So that would support, for example, agriculture. And by the way, we're not only talking about typhoons and floods. We're also looking at drought, which is, has been affecting us. So either for as we call it, rapid mga onset na hazards such as that or drought, that fund can be
Bago
used
pa
already.
matuyo, Mag-build ka
Oo.
na ng pumps or
Pumps
kumuha ka na ng
distribute
bagong
water
source.
kits. So, bago mag-peak yung drought or bago bumaha, ilikas mo na sila. Bago bumagyo, palakasin, patibayin na yung bahay. Ilipat mo sila sa safe location. Protektahan mo yung mga important assets, livelihood. Or kaya sa social services, yung iba binibigyan ng mga kits para hindi mabasa ang libro, ang medical supply. So, this set of measures will be very helpful to ensure people would be safe before a disaster strikes, and based on studies, they recover faster kapag they act ahead before a disaster.
Speaking of anticipatory action, no, kasi this will be based on data.
Yes.
On the incoming disaster that will or might happen. Pero limitado rin yung ating resources eh. So you wouldn't want to spend needlessly. So how sound is our technical expertise now when it comes to that? Saan tayo nakaangkla? At ano pa yung dapat nating i-invest dito sa mga forecast technologies?
Yes. So for example, ang Pag-asa was really developing yung impact-based forecasting na. No? So the science is there. No? We are learning to improve how we will disseminate our early warning messages. Kasi what is important right now is that when we receive an warning information, it will not only tell us what is coming. No? A typhoon is coming. No? That's what we need to do is to use the forecast to tell us what to do. Kaya from just forecast of data or information, it should be shifted to impact-based forecasting. Kung ang bagyo, signal 4 or 5, itong mga lugar na mababa, storm surge kayo, kung nasa coastal area kayo, kung light materials yan, pwede kayong masira ng strong winds, etc. Same rin kapag flood ang hazard mo. So our forecast system and the agencies are actually working very hard to shift from just purely forecast-based to impact-based. Sasabihin sa'yo, hindi lang ano ang darating, ano ang magiging epekto kapag kayo ay natamaan ng ganitong mga klaseng
But how
hazard.
good now is the information dissemination network from the national down to the municipalities that will be affected by these disasters? Kamusta naman yung pag-appreciate nila dun sa impormasyon? Kasi nakakita rin ako niyan ng mga parang dito babahain, tapos napaka-technical nung datos.
Correct.
Okay naman, effective naman, isa-isa yung observation.
This is one thing that still needs to be improved. Kasi yun nga, from disseminating a very technical information to ensure that people understands it. Kasi, for example, yung Typhoon Yolanda, di ba yun yung malaking learning? Hindi naintindihan ng local yung storm surge, pero may local dialect sila. Kung ginamit mo yun, naintindihan nila. So, the same way when we disseminate information, and even local governments, they need to be trained on how to communicate it effectively. So pag narinig nila yung forecast information, alam nila yung ibig sabihin. Kaya importante yung community participation sa pagbubuo ng mga triggers para ma-activate mo yung anticipatory action. Kasi kung may local term sila doon o may mga triggers silang nakikita, dapat na isasama yun sa plano para pag sinabing, likas na kasi either signal number 4, ito ang epekto sa iba't ibang parte ng community. Hindi na sila magdadalawang isip na ano bang ibig sabihin nun. So sila mismo, they would practice anticipatory action para maging safe sila. And that is one space that we advocate to support local government to be trained how to interpret, understand forecast information so it will be translated to effective early warning systems.
And looking ahead, how do you imagine anticipatory action to change the way we respond? Tama ba sabihin na respond?
Oo.
Respond or handle disasters in the future?
So, syempre, nakikita natin magiging malaki yung change niyan, una in terms of culture of preparedness, because we wanted to ensure, hindi lang tayo nagre-react kapag natatamaan na tayo ng bagyo. Pangalawa, economic-wise, no, maraming studies na yung nagsasabi na for every peso spent on anticipatory action, no, that's equivalent to 50, 100, no, savings. So imagine you were able to use these funds to prepare more, to reduce economic losses, to save lives, or maybe build more infrastructure that would save keep people rather than always rebuilding. No? And then third, if we're able to actually do this, yung humanitarian impact sa human development would help, no, to improve. Kasi from one disaster after another, ang hirap nagre-recover ng ating mga especially vulnerable communities. Kasi in the first place, they're already economically, di ba, challenged, and then maapektuhan pa sila. It takes months, years to recover. But if you have anticipatory action measures, based on a recent study we have conducted, less than a month, nakaka-fully recover sila compare kapag wala silang assistance before.
So which community have you seen this?
We have seen communities in Cagayan. Itong mga multiple cyclones last year, yung from Cristin to Pepito, di ba, remember that last year? So we have seen communities that were able to, in Cagayan, in Eastern Samar, in Mindanao, when they practice anticipatory action measure, they can quickly recover. Yun nga sa study, less than a month, they are able to bounce back and
Pero paano nila nagawa yun? I mean, kasi kakasabatas lang nung
But because even before the law, there's already, some support and practice of anticipatory action measures by different agencies. For one, yes, so one, Oxfam is supporting that, other UN agencies, other NGOs, no, meron na since 2019, no? Hindi lang institutionalized. But now with the law, no, this would be really part of the disaster preparedness plans and system, and funds could be used, no, to act ahead a disaster and not after it strikes.
Kakayanin naman natin mga Pilipino na mag-anticipate kasi sa kultura natin mahilig tayo sa isang kahig, isang tuka, tingi-tingi, gagawin na pag nangyari na, di ba? Nasanay tayo sa ganun
Actually, yun nga yung maganda with shifting the system with the law. No? So we will be able to support educating people, no? Families should be prepared ahead of disaster. Yun nga, building a culture of preparedness. Now, why wait when we can actually anticipate and make disaster preparedness a habit? So from bahala na to handa na.
Wow. Sarap naman marinig yun. At kailangan nga natin maghanda, kasi we are in the midst of holiday season. And so
it's still typhoon season.
Yeah, pareho pa rin. Okay, maraming salamat. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see the IRR of that law and with Oxfam behind it, of course. We have Niña Espinola-Abogado, Anticipatory Action Lead of Oxfam Pilipinas.